SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Are you tired of dents and scratches ruining the look of your car? Look no further than Porter's Body Shop in Brookhaven. Call us at 601-833-1861 or visit us online at portersbodyshopms.com.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm
All right, here we go. Thursday morning. Hold on. Better to clear the throat before the music starts instead of doing the thing like that right out of the gate. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. I think we've got a fun show for you this morning, a lot of ground to cover. Mornings is presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. As we start things off, I remind you that the C Spire text line is open, as it is every single day, and we'd love to hear from you. 601-879-4395. That's the number for you to join the conversation. Ready for the best Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals? They're on right now at C Spire, like the new iPhone 17 Pro, free with trade-in. Get yours today at cspire.com. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. Lance, good morning to you.
Buenos dias, man. What's going on today? Other than, a 3-hour show and a winter, summer Mississippi.
Well, that's where I was headed, the winter, summer Mississippi. Have you peeked, perhaps, at the forecast? Well, yeah, of course you do. You do the weather every day for multiple cities in Mississippi, so you know what you see about a week out, right?
It's rain and more rain and a little bit of down here, it looks like. Maybe, we'll get about a 25 degree dip here in the temps for a little bit.
Yeah. That's what I was kind of peeking at, was the high temperature a week from today. A week from today is Thanksgiving. High of 53 degrees. Maybe a little warmer than that where you are. If you're in central or south Mississippi. That Egg Bowl forecast, it's going to be cold for the Egg Bowl.
Yeah, those are the best. The cold Egg Bowls.
I guess so.
Makes it feel like winter. Football season's coming to an end.
And an Egg Bowl that might not have had a lot of drama this year appears to... The drama meter appears to be pegging out, like just banging over on the far right side. Still 8 days away from that game. So, is it going to get cold enough for the deer to really start moving?
I don't know, man. I mean, I've had to bribe them lately with corn and rice bran. So, outside of just nibbling on the grass, they seem to be a little dispersed at the moment. So maybe the weather, as it cools, will get them grouped back up, moving around a little bit more, because they hadn't been doing much.
Speaking of deer, we will visit with one of our favorites this morning, coming up to start the 8 o'clock hour. Lynn Posey, Executive Director with the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, will join us. We'll let him just tell us exactly when the rut's going to start, when you need to be in that stand, who you need to be there with, and all of those good things. Sam Creekmore is going to stop by this morning as well. Let's start off with a sample of what it's going to look like from a weather standpoint across the state today. In Oxford, you got rain showers potentially early this morning, some overcast skies later in the day. Near record high temperatures, 74 degrees. Boo. Winds out of the south-southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour, 40% chance of rain. Eupora, areas of patchy fog early this morning, high of 79, overcast skies. Taylorsville, you've got patchy fog this morning, a dense fog advisory in place for parts of South Mississippi today. Going to clear off a little bit later this afternoon for you in Taylorsville and get up to 79 degrees with a breeze. Picayune, foggy early, partly cloudy later today, also checking in at 79. So not much of the wet stuff, which I think most of the state could use a little bit of. I think northeast Mississippi yesterday in the Iuka and Corinth areas got a little bit of rain yesterday morning. May have knocked the dust back just a little bit. We got so many people blowing leaves, and it's like there's just this dust cloud almost everywhere you go. But we'll hang in there. Hang in there. 1866, that's when Kennesaw Mountain Landis was born. That is a name. Lance, I think that's what you should name your next cat.
Yeah.
Kennesaw Mountain Landis.
That's a mouthful right there, but he brought down the law, man. That was what, the 8 men out? He was kind of the hero in that movie. Caught them all, threw them out, wouldn't let them play anymore. But, yeah, they brought in the judge.
American
clean up baseball.
Federal judge, 05 to 22, Baseball Hall of Fame executive. He was the first commissioner, 1920 until 1944, born in Millville, Ohio. Wait, was that on the heels of the Shoeless Joe deal?
They brought him in for that.
Okay.
Comiskey was the one, if I remember, who wanted to clean it up. It was a PR campaign and didn't expect that actually he would find what he found. And when he did, he blackballed them for the rest of their lives.
Wow. Robert F. Kennedy, born on this day in 1925, the lawyer and politician, former New York senator and attorney general, born in Brookline, Massachusetts. Dr. John, born on this day in 1941. He left us in 2019. Born in New Orleans, his music lives on. Joe Biden's got a birthday today. I bet he celebrates with ice cream. Born in 1942, 83 years old today. He was the 46th president of the United States. Served as a vice president, a senator from Delaware. Scranton, Pennsylvania, the hometown for old President Joe Biden. Wonder if he'll celebrate with John Bolton today, who is 77, was born in 1948, the American security advisor and diplomat. Crook, perhaps, could be added to the resume as well. So a few political birthdays today. On this day in 1272, long time ago, there was a note about this that I thought was interesting. Edward I is proclaimed the King of England after the death of his father, Henry III. But after being proclaimed King of England, it takes him 2 years to return home from the Ninth Crusade. He's like, yeah, that king stuff will have to wait. I'm fighting. Imagine being elected president. You'd be like, I'll take up residence in the White House in a couple of years, but we got work to do first. 1789, New Jersey became the first state to ratify the Bill of Rights. In 1902, Geo Lefebvre, and I don't know if we're going with Henry or Andre Desgrange created the Tour de France bicycle race. Sadists, I suppose, especially with the kind of bikes they would have been riding in 1902.
They're probably made of wood.
Yeah. Hey, here's what. I want you to take this metal seat on this frame with the wooden spokes on these and go ride it through that mountain for about 100 miles. Oh, that's a great idea. Let's sign up. And if you finish first, I'm going to give you this yellow shirt to put on. Congratulations. The Nuremberg war trials began on this day in 1945. 24 Nazi leaders put on trial before judges representing the victorious Allied powers. They go 24 for 24 on convictions. You remember?
I think so, but I'm not sure on that.
Yeah. It was not exactly a friendly jury, if you will. 1958, American puppeteers Jim Henson and his future wife Jane Neville established Muppets, Inc., the company that went on to become the Jim Henson Company. Drew Barrymore hosted Saturday Night Live at the age of 7 on this day in 1982. If you're an audiophile, you may remember that in 1995, Apple Records released the Beatles Anthology 1, the first part of a 3-part series of rare recordings and outtakes by the Beatles. The first set covers 1955 to 64, as well as a new collaboration, Free as a Bird, a John Lennon demo augmented by additional lyrics and performances by the surviving 3. 1995, Princess Diana admitted that she had had an affair with Prince Charles in a television interview. Take a time out. We got news headlines coming up, your morning sports update, and a whole lot more. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. We're back with you right after this.
From the Venable
With Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi, and the Super Talk app.
I had a friend named Ramblin' Bob. He used to steal, gamble, and rob. He thought he was the smartest guy around. Well, I found out last Monday that Bob got locked up Sunday. They've got him in the jailhouse way downtown. He's in the jailhouse now. He's in the jailhouse.
Good morning. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Is there a limit, by the way, Lance, as to how long I can let a song play before I start talking?
Oh, no,
Do
man.
we get in trouble at some point?
It's opera right there. Let that play forever.
That's fair. I mean, you can't really talk before he sings You're in the Jailhouse now, can you?
No.
Seems like you got to get to that point. You got to be patient.
They do a new cut where it's like right out of the gate, just in case we have a guest or something that you got to get to quick, and I have that one loaded up.
Ooh, what kind of guest would you play that for?
Oh, man. I can think of many of them.
Would that send a message?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, there's always subliminal messaging here in the music.
Indeed. You got it locked in. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. This day in 1998, a court, we use air quotes there, a court in Taliban-controlled Afghanistan declares accused terrorist Osama bin Laden a man without a sin in regard to the 1998 U.S. embassy bombings in both Kenya and Tanzania. This one I included for Lance because he loves the references. 2002, Die Another Day, the 20th James Bond film was released, directed by Lee Tamahori, starring Pierce Brosnan and Halle Berry. This was Brosnan's last spin in the role of James Bond.
And not a bad way to go out with Halle Berry being opposite you there.
That was strong.
Well, a great way to break it open, too, as he swims in from breaking into the island out there in Cuba. He swims up, and, you know, she's sitting there. I think her name is Jinx, and she's like in an orange bathing suit or something. And that's where your focus turns to Halle Berry at that point. I mean, you're like, oh, okay.
Finally,
Pierce Brosnan, see you, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, you're a good-looking fella, but 2022, Elton John completes the North American leg of his farewell Yellow Brick Road tour, the final tour at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles, California. All right, some news headlines for you this morning. Are you ready for the dynamite? Millions will soon line the streets of New York City. In fact, a week from right now, there will be millions on the streets in New York City, tens of millions with their televisions on for the annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, featuring high-flying balloons, creative floats, all kinds of entertainment, including an appearance by the Alcorn State University marching band, the Sounds of Dynamite. They announced back in August of 2024 that they had the opportunity to do this. Fundraising went well. Each year, the Macy's Parade Band Committee looks for bands with stage presence, along with musical and marching abilities to captivate millions of live spectators and viewers nationwide. Alcorn State's Sounds of Dynamite was selected from more than 100 applicants to march in the 99th edition of the holiday parade. Dr. Everson Martin is the band director at Alcorn State, and he said, "We're a small HBCU in rural southwest Mississippi. Most of my students have never been out of the state of Mississippi. For most of my students, this would be a once-in-a-lifetime type of opportunity. This is a chance for me to look good, the university to look good, and the state of Mississippi to look good at the same time. I'm helping kids with a once-in-a-lifetime experience." The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade will begin at 7:30 Central Time. You can watch it on NBC. Director Martin says that the Sounds of Dynamite will be somewhere around the middle of the performers. Some of the other notable musicians taking stages across the parade routes include Busta Rhymes, Kool and the Gang, Colby Calais, and Foreigner. Tyree Jones has been named Jackson's police chief once again as a nationwide search continues for the permanent replacement for the recently, although now not so recently, retired Joseph Wade. Tuesday night of this week, the city council voted unanimously to reappoint the Hinds County Sheriff to a post that he held in the interim following Wade's retirement. While the search for a new chief was initially set for 3 months, state law only permits interim appointments to serve for 90 days. So Mayor John Horn said during his first State of the City speech last month that the window is being extended to, quote, find the best possible police chief we can find, close quote. The extension meant that Jones needed to be voted on as the city's top cop by the city council. Former U.S. Marshal George White, former Mississippi Highway Patrol Chief Colonel Charles Haynes have been leading the search committee for a new police chief for the capital city. They've sought public input through meetings across the city. City Council also recently approved a contract with the Police Executive Research Firm. Firm that's credited with aiding in successful law enforcement hires in places like Boston and Denver. Now, when I see that a search firm has helped put high-ranking police officers in some of our big cities, I immediately pause because it doesn't feel like, on the whole, the police chiefing has been great in our big cities. I am thankful to see Boston and Denver there, and not see, I don't know, Portland and San Francisco. I much prefer that former U.S. Marshal and a former Mississippi Highway Patrol Chief are running the search. But in truth, I don't know anything about the Police Executive Research Forum. Just kind of caused my antenna to go up a little bit when I saw that part of it. A man police considered to be responsible for a Mississippi police canine being struck by a vehicle has been locked up after being captured in the attic of a Tennessee home. It feels as if a series of very, very poor decisions were made by Ronald Pilkington. This ended up being a multi-agency effort. The Tipton County, Tennessee Sheriff's Office reports that deputies recognized Pilkington and knew him to be a local resident when his picture was released by a BOLO alert. Be on the lookout by South Haven Police. The arrest follows South Haven Police Canine Dagger being hit by an automobile on November 11th while Pilkington was reportedly fleeing from law enforcement on foot. Dagger reportedly suffered multiple broken bones in the accident. If I'm reading this correctly, it was not this cat Dagger. I'm sorry, that's the dog. It wasn't this cat Pilkington who actually hit the dog. He was running from police and a vehicle hit the dog, and so it is his responsibility that the dog was hit. And he escapes. And he's hiding in somebody's attic. We got a picture on the with the story on SuperTalk.fm. If you want to check it out. When he is being cuffed, you know what it looks like in an attic, right? I mean, you've got the area that's floored, and then you've got the area that's not floored where you've just got studs with some insulation in between them. Lance, they have him laid face down on the ceiling joist with the insulation in between it. Not on the floored part.
No, he's
hands behind his back in cuffs. And they're going to drag his tail out of that attic.
Yeah, he'll have a little bit of the Owens Corning fiberglass all over him as he is getting rolled around in that. And rightfully so, man. Somebody go up there looking for their Christmas stuff that night. Dude's hiding out in the attic or something. I mean, that's crazy.
South Haven Police Department statement said, "We are deeply grateful for the outpouring of concern from the community for Canine Dagger. He is in stable condition and is expected to recover. We extend sincere thanks and appreciation to Precious Paws Animal Hospital and Memphis veterinary specialists for providing outstanding care to Dagger, as well as the Memphis Police Department for their assistance in this incident." I don't know why he was running from police in the first place. Like, how serious was whatever they were chasing you for? Because you have now unleashed the wrath of injuring an animal, which curiously seems worse sometimes than injuring a human or doing something really, really stupid. Your sports update is coming up next. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
One early morning, one late at night.
From the Seabrook.com.
On Super Talk, Mississippi, and the Super Talk app.
Keep everything in the farm yard, upset in every way. The dogs begin to bark.
Mornings with Richard Cross. Glad to be with you alongside Lance Tolbert. Thanks for joining us this morning. C-Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. Always love the early check-ins that we get. Like this one that says, Northeast Mississippi, foggy this morning. Thanks, Jim from Corinth. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate the update. Karen has a fond memory of Joe Biden on his birthday. She only used 3 letters in the text message that she sent to us. 2 of the letters were the initials for Joe Biden. The first letter was a consonant. Same consonant that begins the word fish. I'll let you put them together. Figure out what Karen meant. Mose says you heard a canine and they treat it just like striking a cop. They will go through hell to get you.
And the other side of that is you don't want to be on the other side of that dog being upset at you. I've been around a couple of those things, man. They, as nice and laid back as they can be around their handler, the moment that handler tells them to do something, it is absolutely amazing to watch. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to be the perp. That's the truth there. But yeah, you mess with a dog.
Exclusively German Shepherds?
No, I've seen quite a few. You've got, the Belgian, and you'll see bloodhounds. The Flowood has a bloodhound that is really cool. He's huge, too. He'll drag you through everything once he gets his mind on it. But they're cops, man. They're police. That's what they are.
No, you're right. And, I knew the answer to that when I said exclusively German Shepherds. I guess when you think about kind of the original canine, that's what they were. But, if you watch one of these bomb-sniffing dogs go around, you got all kinds of options. Man, they're so good.
Oh, they are. I had one on Mary's show, a Belgian, and Zeus was his name. And he was just a trip. I think it was Byram's, if I remember correctly.
Zeus.
And he just had so much fun being here. But, that smile on his face, all those teeth smiling at you, they can change pretty quickly.
It only takes one little lip curl, and it's not quite as friendly looking.
I watched a video of the Belgian versus the other. I'm trying to remember. They're two very similar. But watching the mental difference in the physical attributes, the two dogs that look identical, trained the same way. One will run around through the room sniffing, whereas the Belgian jumps over everything. I literally can clear, 20 feet, flat-footed jump.
Goes right to the target.
Yeah, there's no looking around. It's completely. So it just depends on what you're looking for, I think, in your police dog. A lot of labs.
Mm-hmm. Your sports update on Mornings with Richard Cross brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Visit them online at pearlriverresort.com. Your destination for casino thrills, family fun, and live entertainment. It is Pearl River Resort. MAIS championships got underway last night, and they roll throughout the weekend with games being played at both Jackson Academy and Mississippi College. Headliner of the group going to be Hartfield Academy and Jackson Academy. Hartfield is 6-5 on the year. They've won 5 in a row after a 1-5 start to the season. JA coming in at 10-1. Game going to be played at 7:00 on Saturday night. You can hear it right here on SuperTalk Mississippi on our Jackson station. Last night you had River Oaks from Louisiana against Humphreys Academy, and River Oaks got a win over HA 20-8. Tonight, Adams Christian will take on Marshall County. That's actually this afternoon at 3:00. And then Tri-County will take on Leak Academy. That's at 7. I wonder if everybody's forgotten or if the entire world is cheering for Adams Christian as they take on Marshall Academy for the Division II 3A state championship.
Probably 3-1, I would say.
Overwhelming, maybe not unanimous. In, let's see here, Class 1A, the Division II state title be played at Jackson Academy on Friday. 10:30 a.m., it's DeSoto out of Arkansas against Tallulah versus Louisiana. If you're curious about the other states thing, you got to remember the MAIS it's a 3-state deal. It's Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas. Well, and a little bit 4 states, a little bit of Tennessee in there as well, but predominantly Mississippi. Centerville Academy and Lee Academy will meet for the Class 2A Division II state championship. The Class 4A Division II title will be between Park Lane and Heritage. Park Lane 10-1, Heritage 10-2. And then on Saturday at 11 a.m., Winston Academy and Oak Hill Academy in the D2 Class 2A title game. The Class 4A Division III title game, Lamar and Brookhaven at 3:00, and then Jackson Academy and Hartfield Academy at 7:00 on Saturday night. That game being played at Mississippi College. And then you got high school playoffs rolling all over the state this weekend. Lance and the boys will have you covered on Friday night starting at 10 o'clock?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. The Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Company's high school scoreboard show. Is this the weekend that's the most fun, or is it next weekend?
Man, they're all the most fun for me. Once you get to week one, you haven't done it in a while, you know.
There you go.
Okay. I love it all. I mean, Friday nights for 15 weeks is just awesome. Can't beat it. But then when it's over, you're done, man. You just pack it up and you're gone.
I guess what I was thinking, though, was usually first round of the playoffs, you get a lot of blowouts. But once you get into the second round and the quarterfinals kind of leading up to North Half, that's when it kind of you're kind of left with the cream of the crop, right?
Oh, yeah. And, again, this season there's been so much parity in 7A that, it's anyone's guess right now. So, but there's been some great teams that started slow, that we'll see that, kind of like Hartfield. Laurel has tendencies to do that. And so it's always fun to watch the teams that maybe played a very difficult schedule that didn't have a great record that come in at this point and are playing their best ball. So I always look for those as well. Those are fun teams to keep your eye on.
And then there's West Point.
Yeah, don't even go there, man. I mean, they're a dynasty, and I love it.
Green Wave.
Miss Faye will give me a call on Saturday morning while I'm doing Garden Mom. She goes, "What about the Green Wave?" And we'll talk for 10 seconds, and then that's our little West Point catch up. So, but yeah, they're a great program too. So many good ones. So I mean, you really can't sleep on Oxford this year in 7A too. What they've done at 10-1.
Only loss is to Tupelo.
Yeah, it's been a heck of a season. And Tupelo's got Germantown, who has had a great season too. So there's just so many great battles. You can't really highlight them all. You just got to get the scores out on Friday night. There's so many, which is great. But at the end, there's just too many stories in high school football. It's wonderful, and that's what I'm saying. Every Friday night is like a kid in a candy shop for me.
The Mayor's Cup went to Southern Miss on Tuesday night as the Golden Eagles men's basketball team handled crosstown foe William Carey. 82-59 was the final. Next up for Southern Miss, which has won 7 in a row against William Carey, is a Saturday night game against North Florida. That's down in the Pensacola Invitational. William Carey will play at Southeastern Louisiana on Wednesday night. The College Sports Commission, the new enforcement agency of college sports, has asked all schools under its purview to agree to waive their right to challenge future punishments in court as part of an agreement that would give the agency significant power to investigate and punish rule breakers in the era of NIL deals and direct athlete payments. The agreement will not go into effect unless every school signs. The House settlement from a year or so ago allows each school to spend up to $20.5 million in direct payments to their athletes. It also empowers the College Sports Commission to make sure any name, image, and likeness deal an athlete signs with a third party is for a valid business purpose rather than a recruiting incentive. Schools that sign the agreement will waive their right to challenge any CSC rulings in a courtroom. Any appeals of a CSC punishment would instead go through an arbitration process that was agreed upon as part of the House settlement. So far, the College Sports Commission has not launched any investigations since they opened their doors on July 1st. They hired a head of investigations earlier this month and expect to start pursuing several leads on potential violations in the coming month. If you had taken that story 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago and read that, like taking a future story and read it in real time to the people, they'd be like, what is that? What? If you had had that story when Ole Miss was dealing with its most recent NCAA infractions, going through that hearing process, Livingston, Kentucky? Like, hey, take a look at this. If only you were 7 years later, this would have all been legal. Ay. It's your morning sports update brought to you by Pearl River Resort, online at pearlriverresort.com. We're back with you right after this.
It is great and small, but I've never found enough like my rose.
From the Venable Glass.
On your radio, on our app, or on your smart speaker. We're always free. SuperTalk Mississippi, your home for mornings with Richard Cross.
No winner, which for you is probably a good thing. At least if you bought a Powerball ticket, the fact that there was no winner means you got another chance at a big prize coming up on Saturday night, when the jackpot goes to $629 million. The estimated cash value just shy of $300 million at $294.5. Last night's numbers: 10, 31, 49, 51, 68. The Powerball was 19, and the Power Play multiplier was 2. Mega Millions begins its slow climb again. It's bumped once up to $60 million. Mississippi Lottery has big news. You can now download the Mississippi Lottery app in the App Store and Google Play. This brand new convenience app lets you scan your tickets, enter second chance promotions, check winning numbers and jackpots, and even find the nearest lottery retailer, all from your phone. It's simple, fast, and secure. The Mississippi Lottery's first official app is here, and it's built to make your play easier than ever. Search Mississippi Lottery Official in your app store and download it today. Update brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery. Online, you can find them at mslottery.com. That's mslottery.com. The schedule for games involving top 25 teams for the weekend. I think probably you remember that this is not a great weekend. This is especially in the SEC, when most of the teams in the SEC schedule an FCS opponent. Number 1, Ohio State is hosting Rutgers. Number 3, Texas A&M is hosting Samford. Good one in Oklahoma, in Norman. Number 22, Missouri. Number 8, Oklahoma. Number 13, Miami visits Virginia Tech. Charlotte is at number 4, Georgia. Eastern Illinois is at number 10, Alabama. You've got number 15, Southern Cal, at number 7, Oregon. Syracuse is at number 9, Notre Dame. Kentucky's at Vandy, who's ranked 14th. Arkansas is at number 17, Texas. Number 24, Tulane is at Temple. Man, these are awful. Just trying to see if there's one that looks great. Football will be played, but not nearly as many marquee games, which sometimes means that you get an outcome that you weren't expecting. Mentioned Texas in there. Steve Sarkisian started the SEC coaches teleconference yesterday with comments on his status at Texas. He said, "I'd like to comment something before I get into our team that has been bothering me now over the past few weeks. That is people reporting and insinuating that there's a possibility I could leave the University of Texas, and it's absolutely false and untrue. I'm not going anywhere. Never do I do this because I never want to be a distraction, so I never address these things. At this point, I feel like this is important that I do this because it's important for our team. It's important for our university. I've had no discussions, not with my agent, not with the university, not with any other school, not with any NFL team, about ever going anywhere else. I came here to win championships." That is not the same tone that Lane Kiffin took in what could only be described as a grilling. An absolute grilling on the SEC coaches teleconference yesterday, as not one question, not one, in the 11 minutes that he was on the call was about his football team or the Egg Bowl. Kiffin did say that he intends to do what he's done for the past 6 years, which is not talking about other jobs. Said he had seen Ole Miss athletics director twice on Wednesday and said, "Keith and I have a great relationship. We communicate daily on a lot of things, and I love it here. It's been amazing, and we're in a season that's the greatest run in the history of Ole Miss to this point. I think it's really exciting. I'm just living in the moment." When asked if specifically he expected to coach the Egg Bowl, Kiffin responded, "Do you know something I don't know? Do I expect to coach next week? Why would I not expect to coach next week? I mean, I expected to coach against Florida, too. I don't even understand the question of why I would not expect to coach next week. Why would I be at work? Of course I'm coaching, unless you guys know something I don't, or I'm getting fired and I don't know it. Lane Kiffin is a very smart guy. He is an offensive football savant. I wonder if it's hard to breathe when you bury your head in the sand, though. Pretending as if nothing is going on while figuratively, at least in the Ole Miss world, it feels like the world is burning all around you. And you're the one that struck the match is, Not a lot of media savvy in the last week for Lane Kiffin. Just not. Perhaps a resolution coming soon? Perhaps. Maybe so. That's your, we had your lottery update, your morning sports update. News is coming up next, then we'll jump into the 7 o'clock hour. Jasmine Crockett back in the news, saying something that's dumb. I know that's a shock.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Where you come first for news. Fast and free. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Back with you. This is the 7 o'clock hour on a Thursday edition, November 20th of Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Appreciate you joining us. Mornings with Richard Cross is presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. At Community Bank, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams. Whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business, we're here every step of the way. We're dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. Love hearing from you in the mornings. The best way to do that is on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. You don't have to wait for Black Friday or Cyber Monday deals with C Spire. They are available right now, including $1,000 off with a trade-in. Learn more details online at cspire.com. C Spire, customer inspired. Jasmine Crockett, the representative from the state of Texas, one of the representatives from the state of Texas, on the floor of the House yesterday, decided to call out a number of individuals that had received financial donations from Jeffrey Epstein. Big deal, right? We remind you that this hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR benefits and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Call them today at 601-206-7966 or go to mwgemployerservices.com. So a big deal when a sitting member of Congress, member of the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C., calls out other politicians, a long list of names who received donations from the now passed on Jeffrey Epstein. But there's a problem, Lance, with her her statement. The donations that she is representing on the floor of Congress came from a guy by the name of Dr. Jeffrey Epstein. The administrator of the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, Lee Zeldin, one of the names that was called aloud by Representative Jasmine Crockett, said that he had taken money from someone named Jeffrey Epstein. The Congresswoman dropped Zeldin's name while listing figures and entities she said that had taken money from somebody by the name of Jeffrey Epstein, noting that she had her team dig in very quickly. She rattled off the following list: Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, and Rick Lazio. Well, Lee Zeldin responded on X. Yes, Crockett, a physician named Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who is totally a different person than the other Jeffrey Epstein, donated to a prior campaign of mine. No freaking relation, you genius. Intentional? Or just dumb? Wayne and Batesville says, don't expect an apology. Yeah, no doubt. Lee Zeldin responded to a clip of a video with Caitlin Collins on CNN in which she was actually holding Jasmine Crockett accountable. I mean, let you hear what Jasmine Crockett said on the floor of the House yesterday. I would say it's unbelievable, but it's just not at all. Here's the clip.
Yesterday, and you talked about Republicans taking money from a Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what you said.
Who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio.
Those were the names she called out.
You mentioned Lee Zeldin there. He's now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor that doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the people that
Listen, I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein. Just so that people understand, when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen, because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled. And that is specifically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies.
What? Was there intentional deception there? Is that not the same as lying in her mind? It's a stunt. It's a stunt. You know it's a stunt. C-Spire text line, she had no clue. She's a dingus. A dingus. Loud and wrong as always. Somebody points out how unfortunate to have that name. Yes, being Dr. Jeffrey Epstein is an unfortunate coincidence. It absolutely is. Whew. And then when asked about it, her clarification is, oh, I never said it was that Jeffrey Epstein. My team just dug into it very quickly. And then some mumbo jumbo about I wanted Republicans to think about what? Intentional, disingenuous, immediately called on it, and absolutely ridiculous. And not even remotely surprising. Not even a little bit. This is who you've elected. We've elected. People in Texas have elected to Congress. There was another story that came out yesterday, and it is not getting quite the same amount of attention, at least not yet. The Department of Justice charges Congresswoman Sheila Sherfilis McCormick, a Democrat from Florida, with stealing $5 million in FEMA funds, laundering the proceeds, and then using the money to support her 2021 congressional campaign. If convicted, she faces up to 53 years in prison. Kash Patel on X posted this. This individual and her family allegedly stole money from FEMA and then laundered it through friends toward her own personal benefits, including her campaign accounts. Today, the FBI and partners at the Justice Department took action. No one is above the law. According to the indictment from the Department of Justice, Sherfilis McCormick, 46 years old, and her brother, Edwin Sherfilis, from Miramar, Florida, both of them, worked through their family health care company on a FEMA-funded COVID-19 vaccination staffing contract in 2021. In July of 21, the company received an overpayment of $5 million in FEMA funds. The indictment alleges that the defendants conspired to steal that $5 million and routed it through multiple accounts to disguise its source. Prosecutors with the DOJ allege that a substantial portion of the misappropriated funds were used as candidate contributions to Sherfilis McCormick's 2021 congressional campaign and for the personal benefit of she and her brother. The indictment further alleges that another person arranged additional contributions using straw donors, funneling other monies from the FEMA-funded COVID-19 contract to friends and relatives who then donated to the campaign as if they were using their own money. It also charges Sherfilis McCormick and her 2021 tax preparer, David Spencer of Davie, Florida, with conspiring to file a false federal tax return. According to the indictment, they falsely claimed political spending and other personal expenses as business deductions and inflated charitable contributions in order to reduce her tax obligations. Facing up to 53 years in prison if convicted. Just another day in Washington, D.C. Democrats making some headlines this morning. Mornings with Richard Cross with you, SuperTalk Mississippi. Sam Creekmore, Mississippi House of Representatives, on the other side of this quick timeout. We're back after this.
From the Venable Glass.
Where you come first for news. Fast and free. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Once again, good morning to you. Thanks for spending part of the start of your day with us on Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net, rooted in our community. Happy to welcome my first guest this morning, a friend from Union County, from the Mississippi House of Representatives, Representative Sam Creekmore. Chairman Sam Creekmore of Public Health and Human Services joins us. Got the beard going this morning. Good morning, Mr. Representative. How are you today?
I'm good, Richard. It's not Egg Bowl week yet, so I guess we can still talk.
Yeah, we can. Well, you know what? We can talk anytime. Everybody's from somewhere.
That's right.
Plenty of drama leading into that, but I suppose we'll hold that for the boys in the afternoon. You're talking with Lance through the break, I overheard, and you said it feels like you're already in session. We know we're just a few weeks away from the 2026 legislative session. You and many of your colleagues have been spending a lot of time in Jackson during the quote-unquote off-season. What's going on right now as you prepare for this new legislative session?
Well, we've had quite a few hearings this summer on some very major issues. And so that's been a big part of it. And then, as you know, school choice has been a big topic and a very big part of what the speaker's agenda wants to be. So it just requires a lot of study and a lot of meetings, and most of them, unfortunately, are in Jackson, and I'm not in North Mississippi a lot. So
I want to get to some of the health-related topics, but you brought up school choice, and I've seen a few polling numbers where Mississippians are kind of weighing in on what they think. I know sometimes when you get into the Capitol, it can turn into a little bit of an echo chamber, and everybody's kind of hearing and saying the same thing. When you look at the school choice issue, I suppose there are two questions. One, where do you stand on this conversation? And two, how much are you and your colleagues really exploring what people across the state of Mississippi believe? And if so, what are you hearing?
Of course, I hear from my people. And
right.
I don't really go outside of that District 14 area. And as you well know, in North Mississippi, Union County is a lot like Lafayette. We have incredibly strong public schools. And we kind of have a school choice model already. New Albany City School, if somebody wanted to transfer to Myrtle, it's usually an accepted practice. And so, I think New Albany and Union County would benefit with people maybe traveling from Ripley going to Toyota to work. They could drop their child off at the elementary school in New Albany if they so chose. But for the most part, most of my people are okay with what's been presented so far.
It's going to be a fiery debate, and the thing that I've discovered is we've tried to cover this issue and just try to hear all the sides and all the perspectives is that people are pretty passionate about this issue, but there's not a lot of middle ground. They are either adamantly for the idea of school choice, and in a lot of cases wide open school choice, or they are adamantly against it, and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of middle ground.
No, and the biggest thing I hear from my community is that the public dollars to private schools is their biggest issue. And of course, we don't have a private school in my district. So they see that as a real issue to spend public money on private dollars.
When you talk about debating in the Capitol and getting legislation into play, getting legislation passed, there's a difference between presenting stuff and what you ultimately can get passed and get passed through both chambers. Do you see the most likely outcome being some sort of a compromise and maybe not full open school choice?
You're exactly right, Richard. Sometimes you'll begin with one where you are with the end in mind of being able to make those compromises, and you anticipate those at the end. Because you kind of know what some of the other side's issues are. So let's begin a little further than where we thought we'd start, and then by the time we get there, we've made concessions and can get a good bill passed for all of Mississippi.
Let's switch gears to some of the topics in the health world. You, as I mentioned, are chair of public health and human services. We've had the report for a while. We've seen the kind of crisis status of infant mortality rates in Mississippi. There was a new report that came out earlier this week that we talked about with early deliveries of children. And we know that there are lots of complications when pregnancies don't go to full term. Mississippi kind of, the country as a whole, not in a great place there, but Mississippi and other states in the South, particularly high numbers, about 15% of babies born in Mississippi not going to full term. Was that report surprising to you at all, or is that kind of more of what you expected when we look at what already has been declared an emergency with infant mortality rates?
Right. No, of course, we had the hearing, but the public health emergency was issued prior to that. So, no, it wasn't surprising to me by the time of the hearing. But we knew, and we tried to schedule a hearing during session last year, and then the snowstorm came and we couldn't do it. So we just picked back up with this infant mortality hearing. And what we tried to do at the very beginning with Dr. Edney and Dr. Henderson was establish kind of a baseline of where we are in Mississippi. And it was a very sobering report. And then we had different experts come in and offer perhaps some of their solutions. And then so now we've got all this information and we're just digesting it right now and trying to figure out what we can do.
This is different, a very different conversation than education. But years ago, you had a bunch of legislators with a lot of other stakeholders that identified there's a problem in early childhood education. And there was a plan put in place, and it was a long and arduous plan, and it took a lot of hard work from a lot of people. And we get to the end and people just call it a miracle. And there are folks that worked on this for a long time. They're like, no, it's not a miracle. This was a result of long, steady, hard work. Is there a similar model that you're looking to put in place here where, as a legislature, you identify this is a significant problem we have? It's not going to be something that has an overnight solution, but here's our roadmap.
Yes. I mean, if you look back at the history of infant mortality in the state of Mississippi, we've been consistently last in the country. And so there's nothing we've done, although infant mortality rates have decreased nationally, they've also decreased in our state, but we still remain the worst in the state in infant mortality. So nothing we've done has put us even average in America. So as a committee, we talked about, let's just put everything on the table. And yes, this is somewhat similar to education, and what the speaker's mantra is, let's have the uncomfortable conversations about whatever solutions are out there that we can see. And so one of the presenters was Dr. Mona Hanna from Michigan. And they started, and they were the first ones to start a program called RX Kids, Prescription Kids. Mm-hmm. It's where they give money to pregnant mothers. They give them a $1,500 cash stipend. And then after the child is born, it's $500 a month for 6 months or 12 months, depending on the program. And this is a pilot program for a poor area in Michigan. And we always hear about evidence-based legislation and results. The evidence of success it's incredible what this has done.
In theory, where does that money go? I mean, I know that you say that it goes to the mothers. I've heard the phrase no strings attached when it comes to this cash assistance, but what are those mothers using that money for?
Well, the premise is, and when you become pregnant, it's a very an income issue for a family. And by the time the child is born, your family income, disposable income is dropped by at least 10% and sometimes more. And so mothers can't go to work or they don't go to the doctor. And that's a major issue. And so the idea is this money is to help them pay for a doctor visit, pay for their prenatal medicine, pay for their rent. If it's just an additional income to keep them going and keep get the baby what it needs.
So
there are no strings attached.
Is the idea that this cash assistance with no strings attached is a stress reducer?
It is very much a stress reducer. Very much. And then once the child is born, you have that income you can count on, $500. And it's not much, at the end of the day, but it doesn't take much to help just relieve some of the stress of having a child.
We'll continue the conversation with Sam Creekmore, representative in the Mississippi House of Representatives, District 14. Union County is his home base. We've got more coming up with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming online at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. We're back with you right after this.
From the Seabrook.com.
Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
We want to get out.
Glad to be with you on this Thursday morning, the 20th of November. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. The C Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. Visiting with Representative Sam Creekmore. He is the chair of Health and Human Services in the House of Representatives, and we're talking about Infant mortality rates, things that could possibly happen to help with that in the state of Mississippi, and this proposed no strings attached cash assistance program for expectant mothers. And Representative Creekmore, as you might expect, there are people that are pushing back on the C Spire text line and certainly have questions, and I do as well. I just got to be honest. My first thought is skepticism when I hear cash and no strings attached, and you can kind of do whatever you want to do with that money. We're talking about on the low end, based on your numbers, $4,500 to a mother, and on the high end, $7,500, based on that $1,500 initial payment, and then $500 a month for either 6 or 12 months after that. I think there are a lot of people that would say, hey, there are a lot of programs in place, and this might actually incentivize more babies because of cash coming in as opposed to just helping with a problem that exists.
Yeah, I was very skeptical as well, and still have some skepticism, and so that's why we're still flushing this out. But you cannot argue with the results so far from the RX kids in these rural areas in Michigan. And so, and I've questioned Dr. Mona on a lot of these issues. So you don't screen them, we give them the money. It's a 88% take up. They can spend it on what they want. Fortunately, most of them spend it on health care for their babies. And if you don't mind, Richard, I'd just like to go over a few stats that
absolutely,
where it's been successful. 18% reduction in preterm births. We're 1 in 7 in Mississippi of our children are born preterm. That would change that to 1 in 9, and that's immediate savings right there, and immediate lives saves. 27% reduction in low birth weight. We're 1 in 8 children are born with low birth weight. That would change to 1 in 11. So immediate effects. 29% reduction in NICU admissions. That's a savings of $6.2 million with that for just one area for one pilot program, and so that's typically Medicaid dollars for a child that would be saving, and then a 25% reduction in child welfare allegations and a 14% reduction in postpartum depression. So these are real numbers that they're studying in Michigan now, and so. The caveat to this, for me, it was authored by a Republican senator in Michigan. This was a Republican issue that they took on. Of course, it became bipartisan as it went through the legislature. And so they're seeing tremendous results. Now the state of Michigan is putting $270 million in the program. They started out with maybe $2. And so if this is something, and again, I just want to put everything on the table. This has been the most effective so far that we've seen in any of the programs that we brought up in the hearing. And so if we just did a pilot program in Sunflower County, we've already received or had been committed $2 million in donations from across the country. And I don't see this as the government funding this entire program. For let's say a pilot for 1 to 3 counties, I would anticipate $3 to $4 million from philanthropy. I would expect the hospitals to kick in $2 or $3 million. The state appropriation, say $2 million, and then maybe some federal flex funds. TANF money can be used for this type program. So you're looking at an $8 to $12 million program right there with $2 million of state funds in it. And if you save 18% of the lives in that pilot program, then it's well worth it. But yeah, we have a lot more to study on this, and the no strings attached. I'm not real fond of that headline, but that is true. There are no strings attached to it.
It's interesting to me hearing you talk about that at its core, this is it's about humanity, right? I mean, you're creating a better situation for somebody that doesn't have a situation. But if you're going to get legislation like this passed, you better show an economic impact. So you can talk about the humanity piece of it all you want, but for people to go on board when we're talking at some point about tax dollars, you better be able to show a result and show a cost savings and show why it makes economic sense. I feel like I hear what you're saying is based on the results from that pilot program and what Michigan has had happen. You've seen savings in a number of areas, including what it cost hospitals and amount that's spent on Medicaid and other areas. Am I hearing that right?
You're hearing exactly right. And I've got studies from the Upjohn Institute and the Friedman Institute where, and they show how the job growth, because you're putting into that poor community, you're putting $8 to $12 million or $3 million into that community that's going to be spent on healthcare. So the rural hospitals benefit, more jobs are created. People, you're not spending money on, you're spending on food and not funerals. So it just kind of grows that poor community area with this program, and so we can dive into that. But this has to be flushed out a good bit more before we even bring up any legislation. And we can even bring up legislation that has no state money in it, that it can all be donations. But it's something worth considering. And the way this is run, it's a nonprofit. And so without having all the regulations on if you qualify, it makes it a whole lot more efficient to screen. You don't really screen the people. You become pregnant, you're eligible for the money. You fill out the application and you get the check. I mean, it sounds bizarre, but it has very good effects, and babies are living.
There's studies that are out there that can kind of go back and point to a time in history where a lot of the welfare programs went into place. And I know we call those different things than we call them now. And that was the starting point of generations of not seeking work, families falling apart, especially in minority families, not having two-parent households, that you can actually point to that. And some might argue that, hey, this is just like doubling down on some of that policy as opposed to trying to correct generations of a welfare state in poor communities. Is that concerning to you when you talk about adding to this, or can you strip that away and say, no, it's really not the same issue?
Excuse me. In one of the reports, in the Friedman report, he made the argument that if you take all the welfare money and just gave it to Americans, they would be better off than running it through all these welfare programs and having all this administration cost. Just give them from the Medicaid to the child support, whatever, child protection services money, and that would equal about $10,000 per American. Give them that money, and that would help solve the issue. I see we're taking that kind of concept and applying it to infants and mothers and families. So, yeah, I get the point. And this kind of strips down that bureaucracy and gives the power to the mothers and families who are having these children. And I get it. I mean, you don't want to give a mother who's irresponsible, who may be on opioids money to help facilitate an addiction, but you can't legislate everything, and so by doing this, we're trusting the mothers, and some aren't going to be good players, but some are.
You know, it's interesting to me as I'm looking at the reactions on the C Spire text line. There are immediate reactions, a terrible idea, whatever, and then there are a few people who have said it sounds like this is something that's worth the conversation. Maybe a pilot program, as you mentioned a second ago, if you were to start it in Sunflower County or Washington County or one of the counties in the Delta, maybe it would be worth looking and seeing if it has an effect. I mean, do you think ultimately, we've only got a minute left until the break, ultimately, if this were to roll out in some form in Mississippi, a pilot program is the way to go initially?
Absolutely. I think it's the responsible thing to do. If we can get these kind of results, and it's well worth the money, just in the NICU savings alone, we're saving the state money. So yes, and And that's where I am, Richard. I want to continue this conversation. I'm not saying we will have legislation or that I'm going to author it, but I'm certainly going to continue to have this conversation and see what it would look like for Mississippi. I think it'd be foolish not to.
Yeah. Feels like a rational way to, at the very least, explore this issue in more detail. Representative Sam Creekmore, always appreciate your time, your insight, and how you care for people, especially in your role at Health and Human Services. Thanks so much.
Always a pleasure, Richard. Thank you.
We will be back. We'll wrap up the 7 o'clock hour after this. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi.
Back with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. Conversation just now with Sam Creekmore, House of Representatives. He is the chair of Health and Human Services in the Mississippi House of Representatives. And I feel like the thing that Sam Creekmore was talking about there is an idea, a topic, a conversation that deserves some real thought and some real discussion without just the immediate reaction of, oh, well, that's dumb. Oh, well, you're just throwing cash at pregnancies. And I understand that reaction. I really do. And yeah, I think you heard Chairman Creekmore point to the fact that he was pretty skeptical right out of the gate. And then he started digging in on the issue and kind of looking at some of the research and looking at some of the reports and some of the data related to this program in Michigan that started out as a pilot and then has gone into effect in a larger way in Michigan and has rendered results. Let me get some of your messages on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. In my opinion, the families that will be getting this money have no desire to better their situation. It's difficult and sad because there are a few that genuinely want to, and that might be just what she/they needed to give them the jump start they needed. Karen says, why not use the pilot program to put the length of the leash on hours? Now that we know how it works well, before it can be abused, as everything with no strings is at some point. Karen also said, when did paying someone for sex, or in this case the consequences of it, stop being prostitution? And she followed it up with, if you give money with no strings attached to anything, you are incentivizing it. Charity is love, but all help has leashes. You have to have leashes in order to help more than just a few. I'll get another message says, trying this as a pilot program is a great idea. Reasonable question here. How many OB MDs or OBGYNs are within proximity of where you might use this as a pilot? I'm interested in hearing more about this, but don't mothers get quite a bit back each year for children already during tax season? Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that you're pointing to, right? You're looking at the fact that there's a lot of money through Medicaid and through state funds that goes to help mothers who are in poverty with children. And in some cases, there's data out there to prove this, incentivizes having more kids so that the check is bigger. Alan says he sounds like he wants to incentivize getting pregnant. I actually don't think that's the case, and I did not hear that at all from Chairman Creekmore. I think there's a difference in saying, hey, we want to incentivize you getting pregnant, and we recognize there are a lot of people that are getting pregnant without a plan already. And what we want to try to do is lower the infant mortality rate and lower the early births that lead to expensive hospital stays. One more, I know it's a humanitarian issue, but it still sounds like government subsidies for getting pregnant. CC in Senatobia, I think this is pretty unfair, but I'll read the message anyway. He said, did Chairman Creekmore really dig in, or did he just Google it like Jasmine Crockett? I mean, I think that's a pretty unfair characterization, especially when he cited multiple studies and chairs Health and Human Services, and they brought in an expert from Michigan who has been part of that program and has the results. Even if you don't like the idea of the program, trying to throw this as just, or characterize this as just some slapstick, that's a bad idea. Is this program, if this program is effective and saves lives, I'm all for it, but like you said, economically it has to make sense. And I think that's the case with any kind of legislation related to that, right? Or related to throwing money at a problem. You got to say, okay, one, could it potentially help? And if the answer to that is yes, it could potentially help, then you have to look at the economic feasibility of it. One, can we afford it? And two, even if it has some cost on the front end, does it actually yield a net positive return on the back end? Not telling you to agree or disagree with the idea. I don't know if I agree or disagree with the idea. But it does strike me as one that is worth more conversation. And I think that's where Chairman Creekmore left it. Hey, I'm not advocating or saying that there's legislation on the way, but we do need to continue the conversation. 8 o'clock hour coming up next.
It's time to get real. Keeping it real.
It's time for you to get real with it.
And keeping it Mississippi. Your voice for statewide and national politics.
Yes!
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Lazy yellow moon coming up tonight, shining through the trees. Crickets are singing and lightning bugs are floating on the breeze. Baby, get ready. Ooh,
It is a good time to get outside in the state of Mississippi. Welcome again. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming online at supertalk.fm. and SuperTalk TV. Thanks for joining us. The C Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. We are joined now by Lynn Posey. He is the Executive Director at the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. He comes with his camouflage, and he is ready to go. Lynn, good morning.
Good morning, Richard. That's a mighty good introduction Lance did there with the music.
Pretty good,
like
isn't
that.
it?
Yes, sir.
Pretty good. What a great time of the year. So many things in season. We've got seasons that are on the horizon. So many people in Mississippi love being outdoors, period, but especially love hunting season, and it is in full swing.
It is. It's here. We're just here this morning to encourage folks to get out and enjoy Mississippi's great outdoors. As we got some of the best recreational opportunities there is anywhere in the world, and folks need to get out there and enjoy those. And we wanted to speak a little bit this morning about some things that they need to do as they get out there and enjoy those our outdoors.
All right, so there's a checklist of things that you need to take care of so that your experience can be enjoyable, and you don't have a ranger that says, "Hey, let me see your license," and you're like, "License? I didn't know I had to have a license." So let's start there. License requirements for hunting in Mississippi.
Well, Obviously, you have to have a license to get out and hunt. It's probably the cheapest thing you can do is buy a license to go hunt. A box of shells costs more than a resident license does, and we encourage everyone to get those licenses because, the license dollars that we get is what helps run the department, and we can take those licenses and turn them into some additional money through federal sources there when we sell those licenses. And that's one of the things. And I wanted to mention that some folks have probably seen a glitch. We had to replace an 18-year-old license system. It's become an antique, and we're in the process of doing that. And one of the glitches there is our auto renewal on licenses didn't kick in the first year. We're working to get it put back in place. But if you had an auto renewal license, double check it. We didn't get a thing out to you this year. We will next year. Try to get you signed back up, but. Double check your license. Encourage all your fellow hunters to check their license and make sure they got one as they head to the field. And a lot of folks will be heading to the field this weekend. It's actually the opening day of gun season for deer. Yep. So check those licenses and make sure you got one. We don't want to be writing a ticket. That's not our job. Not what we're to do, but it is our job to have to write your ticket if you don't have your hunting license.
Sure. What about with kids? So we've had youth season going for the last 2 weeks, an opportunity for some young people to get out and harvest some deer in many cases, and hopefully spend some quality time with a family member or a friend. In terms of a license for a youth hunter, when is the age that they've got to have that to be a legal hunter?
16 is the age that they need to have their license. If they turn 16, they do need a license to hunt, but under that, they don't. So that would be about where we're at as far as the youth license.
Okay.
I never hesitate to remember back several years ago now, but I'm proud to say that back when I was in the Senate, I had a small part in actually creating the youth hunting season. It's been a huge success.
No doubt. I've got a 13-year-old boy that was most excited that came along like it did this year. And some of the times the preparation is as much fun because of the time that you spend together, whether it's planting food plots or getting corn out in some places or working on deer stands and making sure everything's ready to go. It's a process, but it can be a fun process.
It is. I've enjoyed being able to do that with my grandchildren this year. I've got 6 grandchildren, and 4 of them are of the age that they can hunt, so we're really having a good time doing that, and I encourage everyone else to get their youth out. We're really encouraging folks to focus on youth. The youth is the future of our sport, and we need to get more youth involved in out hunting and enjoying the outdoors.
We were talking about licenses a second ago, and for some, the Mississippi Sportsman's license is a great way to go because you can get that lifetime license, do it one time, and not have to worry about it. Lynn, I got to be honest with you. I've been telling myself I was going to do something for a long time, and now I'm kicking myself because I didn't do it before his birthday. Any child under the age of 13, you can get them a lifetime sportsman's license for just $500. Is that right?
And it's one of the best bargains we have in the state of Mississippi as far as a hunting license. I just last year purchased all 6 of my grandchildren one, and we got that out of the way. So, yeah, and make sure you do it before the child turns 13.
Because if you're like me and you forget to do it before they turn 13, and they were 13 just a week or so ago, now that price doubles and it becomes a little bit more of an investment.
Going to double your cost if you wait past 13.
What if I say, hey, that glitch you were talking about in the license system? I think I did this before his birthday, Lynn, and yet...
I don't know if we can deal with that, Richard. That's kind of stretching it there.
I feel like we're stretching just a little bit. We get a question on the C-Spire text line. It said, hey, I've always heard rumors that if you own property or have property that is deeded to you and is in your name, then you don't have to have a license to hunt on your own property. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. If the property is deeded to you, and legally recorded in the courthouse as deed, and it includes just you, not you and your family. It's whoever is on the deed.
Okay, so the name on the deed is the only person that is allowed to hunt that property without a license.
That's correct.
Okay. C-Spire text line, best present my folks got me, it was $250 back then. Yeah, I mean, it's an investment that lasts a lifetime when you're talking about that sportsman's license.
Yeah, you can't make a better investment to get a child outdoors and give them legal right to hunt for the rest of their life. Can't beat that.
What about the hunter safety program that is required for a license when you're talking about young people?
We make them available, at a moment's notice for folks if they need it or try to, and it's online, and our officers are out constantly going to schools and providing those services for folks, so it's not a problem to get that. And it's a very good course. It's something they need because we encourage, folks to practice gun safety and wear their hunter orange or hunter pink now as they get out into the woods. So we want everybody to be safe. We want everybody to come back home safe.
We got a bunch of folks that have got questions that are popping in, and so I'm just going to throw some of these out at you. One of them was about that ownership piece on land. Said, what if the name on the deed is an LLC? We know a lot of people buy land and put it in some sort of an LLC, but you are the sole owner of that LLC. How does that work? And I don't want to get too far off in the weeds, but a relevant question.
And I'm not an attorney, but I would encourage you not to do that. You could probably beat it in court if you're the sole member of the LLC, but why take for the price of the license? Why take a chance?
And do you have to be a Mississippi resident to qualify for that hunting without a license if your name is on the deed?
I hear again, I'm not an attorney, but I think you do, but okay. I could be wrong about the non-resident. If the non-resident owns the land, it's a possibility. I'd have to get my attorney to double-check that.
I think what I hear Lynn saying is it's really not that expensive, and it's a whole lot better to be safe than sorry.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's fair. What are the requirements for legal deer on private land?
The same with private land as our public land. In most of it, we have 4 zones, and I think in all but one zone, the minimum inside spread has to be 10 inches. Most everywhere in the state, except in the Delta zone, it has to be 12 inches for inside spread.
Okay. Is there wiggle room for kids that shoot deer that they're not supposed to shoot? Because, and here's what I'm getting at. You got a kid that's out hunting, maybe the light's not great, you can't quite figure out if it's a 4-pointer or if it's a spike, you can't tell exactly what the spread is, you're given an opportunity for a kid to shoot their first buck. Can that get you in trouble?
Well, I can tell you our officers are trained well, and we're out to encourage folks to be out there hunting. We're not out there trying to find reasons to keep folks from hunting, and we don't intend to ruin a child's experience over, if it's a 9-inch inside spread, something like that.
Okay.
You're not going to have to worry about our officers doing anything like that. They are far better trained than that.
That is outstanding because this is about fostering a love for the outdoors in Mississippi. You got time to hang with me for a few more minutes?
Sure.
Let's do it. Lynn Posey, Executive Director of the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. We'll take a quick time out. We're back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
From the Bendable Glass Traffic.
From breaking news to bold opinions, Richard dives into the stories shaping Mississippi and the nation. Now back to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Lynn Posey is my guest. He's the Executive Director at the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. And we are, in some cases, already into hunting season. Gun season opens for everybody this Saturday. And kind of talking about all of the things that are going on in the outdoors world in Mississippi. Doe population. It's something that has been an issue for, goodness, Lynn, as long as I can remember, at least the last 20 years, maybe longer than that. We have lots and lots and lots of deer in Mississippi. If you're talking about a healthy buck population, then you have to control your doe population. Where are we in that eternal fight?
We're not doing a very good job, Richard.
Okay.
We have a record deer population here in the state of Mississippi by most of the year estimates that we have, and that's one of the things that we're doing. We've restructured some of our limits to try to encourage folks to kill more does, especially on our DMAP clubs. If a biologist comes out and tells you need to kill 30 does, you need to make an effort to do so. And we're not doing that. Everybody's hunting that big buck, and it's work once you pull that trigger. But we need folks killing more does, and if you don't need the meat, there's some processors that'll take that, process that meat and give it to the some of the more needy folks in the community, or to folks who help the needy folks.
I'm glad you said that, because I was going to ask you that specifically. It is a lot of work once you pull the trigger to clean that deer, to get it processed, and all of those things. And there's some that do a great job. They say, hey, first thing we're going to do is get meat in the freezer, and we'll do that through doe, and then we'll hunt that big buck, that trophy, after the fact. But is that common? Is there a way to find out folks that will do that? Or is that something you need to kind of research on your own in terms of, hey, I want to help control the deer population, but I've got enough meat. I don't have time to clean it and get it processed. I can't afford to get it processed, whatever that is. Sure. I'll shoot them, but I would need to get it in somebody else's hands.
That's kind of a local thing. It's kind of unique to each community, but most of you sportsmen, most of you hunters out there know who does and who doesn't, and where they can take it, and how that sort of thing. So yeah, it's out there. It's available in most communities there for folks who want to kill the deer and donate the meat.
C-Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. If you got a question for Lynn Posey, drop it in on the C-Spire text line, and we'll try and get it into the conversation as well. In terms of hunting over baited fields versus hunting over food plots, etc., give us a reminder on kind of what the rules are with regard to food plots and corn and feeders and mineral blocks and all of those things.
Well, as long as we don't get into anything about ducks, the food plots are, we encourage the food plots. You get into a lot of trouble when you start talking about doves and ducks if you go to feeding, that type of thing. But as far as the deer, food plots are welcome. And of course, feeding corn is legal as long as you have it in a covered feeder or a feeder that actually throws spin feeder type deal. So, it's hard to get in trouble there if you're doing those things like that, a spin feeder or covered trough.
Okay. And while some people might look at that and go, well, that kind of takes some of the sport out of it, there's a reason that rule is in place, and doesn't it kind of tie back to the need to control the population?
Well, the thought was it would help control the population at one point in time. The fact that you can see more deer if they're going to come to food, and you can see more deer if there's food there for them to come to. I think that's what originally started it. Of course, we're having to change up some of the things there now. Of course, obviously, one of the things we don't like to talk about but have to talk about is the fact that our herd is infected with CWD now in certain parts of the state, and we don't encourage or try to prohibit folks from feeding then, because that's what seems to help spread the disease. Is when you congregate a deer herd together, is that that's when the disease spreads quicker, for sure.
Yeah. We get a message that says turkeys like corn too much, and so he uses some different food options and said rice bran is the way to go for him. I will say on our trail cameras that we put out, my son was checking it every single day. He's like, oh, is there anything to see? He's like, there are a bunch of turkeys out there. It's like, yeah, they're eating that corn as fast as you can get it out.
Yeah, they love corn, and of course, you want to make sure the corn that you use don't have any alpha toxins in there, or it can really hurt the turkey population if they start to get a disease from the corn. So, kind of a double-edged sword, and we don't try not to allow folks to actually hunt turkeys over any of the corn feeder. That's illegal there. We don't want that going on.
Okay. Jim said, thank you for the info on the auto renew. He thought that his license had renewed. It did not, and he just did it on his phone. So that system apparently is back up and working the way it's supposed to.
Great. We've got the system is working good. The auto renewal just didn't kick in, and I was trying to. One of the things I wanted to do was for folks like him and make sure they double check that their license, are good before they step in the woods.
Lynn, what are the rules for where you can put a stand, where you can put a food plot in relation to your neighbor's property?
It's supposed to be 100 yards from the property line.
Okay.
That applies more to feeders and food plots as a general rule. That's what we have. It's easy to walk up there and place a feeder. It's it takes a little work to put in a food plot, and most folks don't put them that close to the property line, but they will slip a feeder in there if they get a chance sometimes.
Okay. This one, maybe a little more technical question, but I think something that some people are curious about. Can you pour rice bran on the ground? You can't put it in a feeder because it starts molding and the feeder gets all caked up.
It's not supposed to be poured on the ground. Let me put it like that.
Okay.
But I'd be telling you a story if I told you it wasn't getting poured on the ground in places. And I think everybody knows that. But it's just not good for the animals to have anything, corn, rice bran, whatever, on the ground. It gets rained on, it gets molded, and it's just better to put it in a feeder, or if you don't use rice bran, put it in a covered feeder.
Yeah. There's a follow-up on what you were talking about with CWD just a second ago, and so that's a big part of the reason that dumped corn needs to stop, and that's discouraged because you got rats and coons and deer and everything that all eat out of the same pile when it's so readily available.
Absolutely correct. The CWD, that's why we prohibit pouring it on the ground. That's why we want it in the feeders, and there's some thought, and then that's why we prohibit it in the CWD zones, because CWD is there and it's going to spread, and the easier you make it to spread, the worse off you are.
Yeah, the worse it gets. 601-879-4395. In terms of deer being tested for CWD, what are the requirements? What are you asked to do?
Well, you can just take the head and drop it off, and we'll cut out the gland that needs to be cut out to do the testing. And so far this year, we've had like 792 samples. We had 7 new positives. They're all in the still. We did not change the CWD zones this year. We have 3 of those, which includes about 18 counties. Most of them on the Tennessee line, a few counties over along the Mississippi River, and we did have a CWD positive deer show up in Hancock and Harrison County down there. What that zone consists of down there.
Okay, so is CWD testing only required in those CWD zones, or is it everywhere?
Well, it's not required except in the CWD zones, but we encourage it everywhere.
Okay.
Encourage everyone to try to get their deer tested.
Gotcha. What about hogs? We know that they have wreaked absolute havoc on farmland and properties all over the state of Mississippi, and it's hard to get rid of them. Are there any limits on shooting pigs?
No, there are no limits as far as the daylight hours, and if you want to shoot some hogs at night, I encourage you to talk to your local game warden and let them know what you're doing, and hey, we're out here shooting hogs, that type thing. You don't want to get accused of headlighting a deer out there at night, so it's better just let your local warden know what you're doing ahead of time. But yeah, we encourage you to try to kill as many of them as often as you can. It's tough.
There are a lot of people
that
say those.
Do.
Yeah, a lot of people say those nighttime hog hunts are a lot of fun, but they're also they play an important role.
They do. You've got some high-tech equipment out there now that allows you to go out there and see the hogs and recognize exactly what they are and kill them. And it's somewhat, a lot of people, it's a big sport to some folks to shoot them at night.
Yeah. Do you anticipate the cost of the lifetime sportsman license continuing to rise, especially for kids?
Hopefully not in the near future, but that's a legislative matter, and okay. They try to. They're good guys. They understand about hunting and fishing. And they don't want to charge the resident people any more than they have to, just to cover the kind of the expenses and to help the department survive.
Sure. Lynn, I appreciate it so much. I hope you have a wonderful hunting season, get to spend time with your grandkids, and we wish the same to folks all over the state of Mississippi. Be careful, wear orange, right?
Be careful, wear orange. Call you 1-800-BE-SMART to report violations and be safe out there, Richard, and just see you outdoors.
We'll see you outdoors. Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. I bet Lance got the juices flowing a little bit while we were talking about being outside. We're back with you right after this.
From the Seabrook.com.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
On with the show.
Is back. Holy smokes. On SuperTalk Mississippi.
MRC with you. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday morning, the 20th of November. A little less than half an hour left. We appreciate you jumping in and joining the conversation. The C Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. Also open, the Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals from C Spire on their website. You don't have to wait for 8 more days or 10 or 11 more days for Cyber Monday. You can get those right now at cspire.com. Check them out online, cspire.com. C-Spire, customer inspired. If you're in the market for a new or previously owned vehicle, if you think you need something new for hunting season, Belk Ford, Oxford Toyota, they stand by ready to help you. Located on Highway 6 West in Oxford. Great people. Like all of the things that you expect from an automobile dealer, they've got a great selection on the lot. The pre-owned selection is massive. You got cars and trucks and SUVs and vans and all of the things that you could possibly want. And if they don't have what you want, they will help find it. It's the stuff that you don't always expect, though, from a dealer that really sets Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota apart. They're a family-owned company. The Belk family has been in the automobile business for over 100 years. They're not going anywhere, and that matters when you're talking about service after the sale, whether it's a routine oil change or a complex diesel engine rebuild. They can take care of all of that right there on site, Highway 6 West in Oxford. Belk Ford, Oxford Toyota, great salespeople that are going to help you find the vehicle that you want for the price that you can afford with the best financing options available, including 0% for 60 months on an F-150 and then kind of a sliding APR scale with the ability to take advantage of some rebates that are still in place. A lot of good options for you at Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota, Highway 6 West in Oxford, belkford.net, oxfordtoyota.com. Lance, I feel like Lynn Posey was speaking your language.
Yeah, I mean, I just like being outside. Man, I don't know how much hunting I'll get done this year, but definitely be out running around in the woods and fields and swamps. It's always a kind of a centering moment.
Kind of your special place, right?
Oh, yeah, since I was a babe. I've been going to the same place since I was born, so very fortunate to have that type of investment my folks made many years ago. So
absolutely. Do you always talk about duck hunting and that being the spot? Do you have folks that deer hunt on y'all's property as well?
Well, there's about 3,000 acres, and we have a large club and individual cabin. Yeah, so
room to spread out a little bit.
It's pretty busy, and we have an amazing place. It's been there since the 30s and kind of incorporated back in the mid 40s. So it's been around for a long time, and have a bunch of wonderful people that we get to hang out with, and most of them do deer hunt. There's us that duck hunt are usually ostracized to the north, so we get to go over and make a racket.
You can't see as many deer from the duck blind when you're looking out over the water, so it's a reasonable delineation there, I suppose.
It is fun, though, to watch the deer as you're out duck hunting, swimming across a bayou that's 200, 300 yards wide and goes for miles, and just watching that. And as the water gets up, watching those bucks, I saw about a 14 point, the smart ones are really unique in what they do. They don't even really like getting caught on cameras. They're really, really bright animals and been around. But I saw about a 15 pointer about 2 years ago. I was sitting on the southern bank of a bayou, and it was about 250 yards away, and I pulled out the binoculars. I didn't know what it was, but it looked like a tree swimming. I said, man. Yeah. And, so and he swam and swam for hundreds of yards in a long ways pattern before he got up to a duck blind that is one of our members. And he popped in right there and went up into the woods. And I told the owner of the blind, I said, man, there was a huge deer out there. He goes, yeah, I've seen him, man. But it'd be so difficult.
He knows he's in a safe space there, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it would take a crane to get him out of there, and maybe a seaplane as far out as we are. So, but yeah, he knows. And those big gators are the same way up there on the north end. I've seen some definitely record breakers, but you can't get to them. But yeah, I love this time of year though, because you can actually wade around in the water and not get eaten up. Give it about another 2 weeks.
At Community Bank, we are here for every part of your financial journey. Looking to manage your personal finances? Our banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored to you. Ready to grow your business? We offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. Dreaming of a new home? Our mortgage specialists are here to make the process seamless, all designed with you in mind. We're more than just a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. I don't have all of the details in front of me, but I did hear Borky and Haydad talking about this a week or so ago. So a week from tomorrow, well, obviously we'll be off on Thanksgiving Day, and Friday morning, knowing that the Egg Bowl kicks off at 11 a.m., you are going to get a special edition of Sports Talk Mississippi from 6 until 9. And that'll lead you right into the Ole Miss and Mississippi State Network pregame shows that will lead you right into kickoff. So your Egg Bowl preparation and coverage will start early on the day after Thanksgiving. 6 a.m. until 9 a.m. right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. So a little bit different, just a one-off special deal on the day after Thanksgiving. So that'll be a lot of fun. I want to play this for you. Zoran Mamdani. He had some interesting things to say. He was doing an interview with Pix 11. That is one of the local television stations in New York City. And he was being asked about how it was that he was going to make the buses free. Because, remember, almost immediately after Mamdani won the election in New York City, the governor, Kathy Hochul, came out and was like, yeah, we're not paying for free transportation in New York City on the buses. So Mamdani with a very reasonable answer in this line of questioning.
And the other one, you're talking about fast and free buses and you're meeting with the governor. I've heard you talk about many times that you don't want to take money away from the MTA. You want to put money back in. It's something that she agrees with, right? We don't want to take away money from the MTA. How are you getting that money, the $700 million to make the buses free, into the MTA if she's not for raising taxes?
You know, I think that the two clearest ways to raise that money is through the raising of the state's corporate tax to match that of New Jersey. I think that a lot of this is still a case to be made, whether it's the corporate tax or whether it's the personal income tax on those who make more than $1 million a year or more. I think that these are the clearest ways. I've also said that if there are other ways to raise this funding, the most important fact is that we fund it, not the question of how we do it, but that we do it.
Oh, that is a little disconcerting if you are a voter in New York. The most important fact is that we fund it, not the question of how we fund it. Which is an interesting tenet of socialism. He is a Democratic socialist. He has made that abundantly clear. A lot of people have just called him a communist. Agree or disagree. But one of the less discussed tenets of socialism, Lance, I know you'll like this one. It's the idea of the money tree. You know, you just go out in the backyard and you shake the money tree and the money comes down and you're able to fund the things that you want to. It doesn't matter how we fund it. It just matters that we fund it. Ay, ay, ay. Speaking of Zohran Mamdani, he is headed to our nation's capital. It is customary that the incoming mayor of New York City meets with the president of the United States, being that New York is the largest city in the country, and geographically there's not that big of a spread. And just in case you didn't know, New York City, New York State, they need a lot of federal money. President Trump revealed that he will be meeting with New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani for an in-person sit-down in the Oval Office tomorrow, this Friday. In fact, he went to Truth Social to announce the meeting, and here's how the President of the United States phrased it. Communist Mayor of New York City, Zohran Kwame Mamdani, has asked for a meeting. We have agreed that this meeting will take place at the Oval Office on Friday, November 21st. Further details to follow. It feels like he should have dropped thank you for your attention to this matter at the end of that post. He has an upcoming meeting with the mayor of New York City, and he announced that it was happening by saying, Communist Mayor of New York. Ooh, he's one of a kind, the President of the United States. By the way, Donald Trump signed the Epstein bill, the legislation. Now the Department of Justice has 30 days to produce all of the documents. I'm sure you are going to get all of the information that you have ever dreamed of about the Epstein, and nothing will be withheld, and we'll have all of the answers within 30 days. I'm sure that's going to be how it works out. We'll wrap it up with you coming up next. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Well, I done got old. I can't do the things I used to do.
Last night, the biggest night in country music, the 59th annual CMA Awards, a star-studded roster at Bridgestone Arena in Nashville. Another awards show, another big, big night for Lainey Wilson. Well, you want to talk about a rocket ship ascent for her over the last 5 years, 3 years? She won Entertainer of the Year, the biggest award of the night, and she beat out four fellas that were on the list, including Luke Combs, Cody Johnson, Chris Stapleton, and Morgan Wallen. Album of the Year also went to Lainey Wilson for Whirlwind. The other finalists for that were Megan Moroney's Am I OK?, Zach Top's Cold Beer and Country Music, Post Malone's F1 Trillion, and Morgan Wallen's I'm the Problem. If you're sensing a theme here, you should. Female Vocalist of the Year, Lainey Wilson. She was a finalist alongside Kelsey Ballerini, Miranda Lambert, Ella Langley, and Megan Moroney. How about Male Vocalist of the Year? A guy that sounds like what you think of in terms of country music, Cody Johnson. Pretty good group of finalists with Luke Combs and Chris Stapleton and Zach Top and Morgan Wallen. I don't think classic country music when I hear Morgan Wallen. I do when I hear Cody Johnson. And then one of my favorites, Vocal Group of the Year. Mm-hmm.
I come from blue collar, low dollar, out here where concrete meets old red dirt.
Red Clay Strays take home Vocal Group of the Year, beating out Lady A, Little Big Town, Old Dominion, and Rascal Flatts. And how about, for the 16th time, Vocal Duo of the Year, Brooks and Dunn. It feels like they should just rename Vocal Duo of the Year, call it the Brooks and Dunn Award, and let other people win it. New Artist of the Year, Zach Top. He had a lighthearted moment. He said, I wasn't sure whether I was supposed to put my beer down or not before I came on stage. He did not. He stood accepting his award, holding the trophy in the right hand and a Coors Banquet beer in the left hand. Single of the Year went to Ella Langley and Riley Green for You Look Like You Love Me, as did Song of the Year. They also won Music Video of the Year for You Look Like You Love Me. Kind of feels like country music's in a pretty good place right now. I know there are a lot of people like, I don't like the new country, but like some of the new country has actually reverted to old or classic country. Although, I don't think any of that new country has made it into Lance's playlist of Country Music Wednesdays.
I play the Red Clay Strays and Luke Combs,
You do.
Chris Stapleton. I try to integrate it all in.
I don't guess I knew you had Luke Combs in there.
Jameson will get in there sometimes.
But, man, when that Brooks and Dunn pops, it hits a little different, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, kind of a throwback, man. I mean, when you duo of the year for 100 times, it's kind of hard to beat Brooks and Dunn.
When you hear Brooks and Dunn, what's the first song that comes to your mind? First one.
You got me. I wasn't.
I'm with you. That's there's so many hits from them, and for whatever reason,
Boot, Scoot, and Boogie, and
I mean that should be the one. I think My Maria is the one that popped into my head first. I was like Brooks and Dunn. I was like, ooh, My Maria.
Yeah, and so many have done that one, I guess, and done it so well. But they
Neon
crush
Moon.
it.
Neon Moon.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, so good. It appears as if Wall Street is set for a pretty good bounce-back day. Futures, as the market gets set to open this morning, actually I guess has already opened. Dow's up 600 points in early trading today. That's on the heels of a big NVIDIA announcement yesterday. NASDAQ has jumped 2%. So you remember earlier this week we had a conversation with Peter Costa. We talked a little bit about AI technology. And there's some concern whether or not too much has been invested in NVIDIA. It's up almost 5% so far today. They reported record sales and strong guidance on Wednesday, helping soothe jitters about an AI bubble. Sales in the October quarter hit a record $57 billion. And the demand for AI data center chips continued to surge, up 62% from the year earlier quarter. Estimates that sales will reach $65 billion in the final quarter of the year. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday morning. Hope you find time to get outside, whether it's today or this weekend. I'll be back with you on Monday as we count down to Thanksgiving. Lance back at it tomorrow morning as well. For Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net. Thanks so much for being with us. Have a great Thursday.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.